Hello and welcome to our webinar today. Vermont SportsCar meets the need for speed with NetSuite. I'm Rebecca Rowe, the Marketing Director here at Myers-Holum, and we just have a few boring logistics before we get started. Everybody is going to be on mute except for the panelists. However, we do welcome any questions you have throughout the webinar. You can put them in your chat or the Q&A section of the Zoom. And our panelists are going to get, to all of them that they can at the end of the webinar during Q&A. But those they don't get to, we'll make sure we'll follow up with an email. So all your questions are going to get answered. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our speakers, Brian Oldfield, Chief Financial Officer at Vermont SportsCar, Lucas Palscher, Delivery Consultant at Myers-Holum, and Mark Bassnagel, Practice Manager at Myers-Holum. And let's start with you, Brian. I'd like you to give us a more in-depth introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Brian Oldfield, my career in motorsports began in 1997 when I was a junior technician. I've been with Vermont SportsCar since about 2000. Moved up as we started with about 5 of us, and I went from junior technician, number 1 technician, truck driver, hospitality manager, worked in marketing, ran the parts room, and I just went right through. As the company grew, I grew with the company, and today I'm the Chief Financial Officer.
Wow. And how about you, Lucas?
Yeah, so I'm a delivery consultant here at Myers-Holum. I was lucky enough to work with Vermont SportsCar on this project. They're a really cool and unique business, a lot different than the other clients I work with. So it was a really interesting opportunity and challenge. I do have some background in some prototype manufacturing and other things that kind of aligned with VSC. So it just kind of made a lot of sense.
Excellent. And what about you, Mark?
Hi, everyone. Mark Bassnagel. I'm a CPA by trade, so definitely a by the numbers type person. However, I'm an avid power sports, motorsports enthusiast, and currently Vermont SportsCar rolls up under my org, and it's been great to see them grow and continue to use NetSuite.
Excellent. Could you give us an overview of the agenda too?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just got through our introductions, and next, Brian's going to take us through who is Vermont SportsCar. They really are a unique business. I've been doing NetSuite consulting 6 years and never seen one quite like it. And then how does Vermont SportsCar use NetSuite, and especially in their unique business model? And then we'll talk a little bit about how we're helping them in our managed services practice today. And we're going to wrap up with some Q&A.
Excellent. That sounds exciting. Let's have you, Brian, introduce Vermont SportsCar to us.
Certainly. We are approximately 30-year-old business. We specialize in the construction of rallycross, and bespoke high-performance race cars. Started out, as I mentioned, as a handful of us in a 3,000 square foot facility. We are now approximately 70 people in a state-of-the-art 75,000 square foot facility that we just moved into about 2.5 years ago now. We are the Subaru's largest factory-supported motorsports program in the world. In-house, we do bespoke design of race components, engines, drivetrains, construction and manufacturing. We build the cars in-house. We do the race operations and logistics right from here. And we are involved heavily with marketing of our program. So we really are involved. It's a full umbrella operation from design all the way through to execution at the races. We do everything here. We are the 2021 ARA, American Rally Association champions. We have won 14 of the past 16 ARA championship titles, including a 9-year straight run from 2011 to 2019. We are the current Mount Washington Hill Climb world record holders. That was set by our driver, Travis Pastrana. We're the 2021 Nitro Rallycross team champions. We, aside from our racing endeavors, We have a Subaru Rally Display program, which brings a show car and a lot of information about Subaru's involvement in motorsport right to the dealerships, and special events and functions. Some of the dealers can rent this. It's a mobile fifth wheel trailer. We do about 70 to 90 events a year with that trailer. We also started a new line of high performance accessories for Subaru street cars called VSC Performance. So there's no shortage of excitement around here.
So I know a lot of the people on the webinar are aficionados of racing, but for those of us who are more novice, could you give us some context around some of these races and what they mean to the sport?
Certainly. Yep. Rally racing is it's a form of off-road racing. It's generally held on forest roads or power line access roads. The race will usually be comprised of 2 days of competition, anywhere from 100 to 120 race miles. The cars do need to be street legal because they transit. They'll finish one stage, which may be anywhere from 5 miles to up to possibly 20 miles long. They'll complete one stage, they'll move on to the next stage, which may be 15, 20 to 30 miles away. So they are transiting on public roads at obeying all laws of, operating their car on the street. There's a driver and a co-driver. So the co-driver will be calling what are called pace notes to the driver, and that gives a basic, it's notes taken along the course the day before the event. They'll drive through the course in a street car, and they'll make notes about what's coming up, the turns 1 through 6. One will be a very like a 90-degree turn. We'd have to almost come to a stop, slide through the intersection and continue. A 6 would be a very, very gradual turn where they might be going near top speed and would barely lift off the throttle. There's also cautions for things like logs or water hazards or anything of that effect, a chicane or a jump. So the driver's actually, at our level, the driver is actually driving the road faster than that individual is able to see what's coming up. So when a co-driver calls out a note, it's very, very important that that note be correct, or else the result is usually not good.
Hey, Brian, I think your definition of caution and mine are a little different. You said they drive cautiously through the woods. That does not sound cautious at all.
Yeah.
I agree. And we were seeing, when I looked at some of the pictures too, it looks like a lot of the sports car are taking air. They're actually like flying through the air, it looks like.
That is in that what you're seeing there is the rallycross series, and that's the second series that we race in. In rallycross is also, it's generally it's in a stadium setting. Usually the course is about 1 mile to 1.25 miles long, and it would be similar to motocross or a supercross race where getting out, it'll be the cars will be gridded 6 or 8 at a time. They accelerate from the stop very quickly to get to the first turn, and then from there they're just jockeying for position to be first around the track. They usually run about 4 to 6 laps, and there's a lot of jumps and a lot of sliding and things of that nature.
Excellent. So could you tell us when your next rally is going to be?
The next rally is in Oregon in about 2 weeks.
Wow, coming right up.
Yep.
So I thought what we could do now is kind of go through some of the experiences you have had with NetSuite, and just start with some really basic things like, what were some of the key business drivers for your evaluation of NetSuite back when you were first starting to think about an ERP like this?
There were a number of, when we began looking for ERP software, we had about 50 employees at the time. So we were growing, the business was growing, and our software needs were certainly growing. At the time, we were using Sage 50 with a 5-user license, and it was just, we were outgrowing that very quickly. One of the key drivers for me personally personally, in my position, was I went to the owner and I said, look, at some point in the future, someday, you're going to want to sell this business, or maybe you're going to want to take on a partner, an investor. There's going to be a transition period. Something you're going to want to take an action. And what we had at the time was not really conducive to presenting that information to those types of people. So the time to start, of course, is before you're thinking about that type of situation. So for me, one of the biggest motivating factors was getting a software that we're not going to outgrow, that is going to give us the power and the flexibility that we need to meet that need one day. Because I said it's at that level, especially if the owner decided it one day to sell the business, someone's going to want to see exactly how we make money, where the money goes, all those things. And we were just backing up to difficulties with our existing software at the time. It just wasn't conducive to presenting in that format.
Could you give us some of the challenges you were facing, not just with the software, but just not having certain things? Can you delve into that a little bit for us?
Yeah, one of the big issues we had was budgets and creating budgets, because of the dynamic nature of the work we do, and just the versatility of everything we do in-house, and creating budgets, it was getting harder and harder. So budgets, we were driven by a need to form budgets. And another thing which Lucas was very helpful with was our parts department was struggling with the capabilities of the Sage software. Some of the most basic things, we had a real hard time moving maybe one item from one storage area to another. Super sessions. A lot of times we will find a component on a race car we need to redesign it slightly, not change it entirely, but make a change, maybe strengthen it or change where a pickup point is. And so we were dealing a lot with revisions, and Sage just had it was very difficult. We had to create a new part number, and very difficult. So those were a couple of the biggest challenges that we had.
So what were your goals for NetSuite? I know you mentioned being able to grow, being able to scale, but what were some of the other goals you had for NetSuite?
One of the big things that we were looking for as we've grown, and like myself, I have a home in Las Vegas, so I commute back and forth, Las Vegas to Vermont. We have a number of employees that work out of state who aren't here at the home base. We have people all over the world, actually. Some of our engineers and consultants work all over the world. So cloud Sage was on a computer in the accountant's office, and it was very, very difficult. I would be on all day long asking for this report or that report early on. And so being cloud-based was very important, and also reporting flexibility. Once you realize that pretty much everything in NetSuite is a report, it really opens how you can use the software to really structure it around the needs of the company. That was very important.
So once you implemented NetSuite with Myers-Holum, what kind of impact has it had on your business?
Oh, it's tremendous. We have budgets for every area. I can be sitting, first thing I do in the morning when I'm 2,600 miles away is I log in and I can see all the activity, everything that's going on. It's almost hard to frame the change. It has been so dramatic and just a complete night and day change. The flexibility, like I said, the reporting, the creating budgets, sub GLs. We didn't have something as simple as sub GLs, and we were able to both simplify the chart of accounts. We could talk for more than half an hour about the benefits and what we've seen from our implementation with NetSuite.
We'll have to do another webinar. So in terms of was there any streamlining of your business process, or did those stay the same? How did that work, that part of it?
Oh yeah, we Myers-Holum was very, very helpful in looking to asking, what do you want the software to do? What are your current limitations, and what are you trying to overcome? And part of that was restructuring our chart of accounts and using things like classes and all the ways that NetSuite's able to compile information. So we had an idea at the time of how we would use NetSuite. We went live January of 2021. And right now I'm working with Lucas and the Myers-Holum team. And we're actually doing, between now and the end of the year, we're going to reevaluate now that we have used NetSuite for a year and a half, and we've seen the reporting capability and the use of things like departments and classes and all that's available. Now, after a year and a half, we're actually doing a reevaluation, and we're going to move to the next step where we're going to simplify the chart of accounts even more and do much more in-depth reporting and kind of fine tune what we have now that we've had a chance to use it.
Yeah, that's a very common, actually, Brian, that's a good point. It's a very common thing we see with clients, is especially when you come off old systems like Sage or QuickBooks, where you're so used to having that blown out chart of accounts, and just business process in general, that, things that you asked for a year and a half ago that made a lot of sense then just don't now.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
That's fascinating how it evolves. So speaking of that, have you discovered any benefits you didn't actually originally think you were even anticipate?
They were explained at the time. Myers-Holum did an excellent job of explaining the functionality looking back, but I didn't have the ability to fully grasp or understand because NetSuite was very new to me. So I would say the use of classes and departments has been a real game changer, and just the reporting in general. It's so powerful. And if you have the time or a great support team like yourselves at Myers-Holum, you can really, it's so customizable. Those are the biggest things that we found. You can't, for me, the initial implementation phase, and that's all well and good, but you're taking in so much in such a short amount of time. And our team here, our accounting team here, now we're really seeing the power of the software.
I think you guys really benefited quite a bit from segmentation just in general, because what I found is you guys have so many unique, since you're project based and you have a unique revenue model, that you have so many unique reporting requirements. So like, we want to see this project segmented by X, Y, and Z. And I think that was really huge compared to the previous reporting you guys had shared with me. And I think the fact that most of these are dynamic reports, I know previously you were pulling static data, aggregating them in Excel spreadsheets, trying to share them. It just, it was a bit clunkier before. And I just think that it's been a pretty big game changer, just judging from all the feedback I've got from you guys. It's been, pretty huge.
100%. Yeah.
Well, how I like that. That's it's very interesting to see how the use of reports changes and so forth over time too. How have you grown since you've been on NetSuite? Because now you've had it since the beginning of 2021.
Boy, we've grown. Our retail parts program is new since 2021, so we've added about 20 full-time staff members. We continue to leverage consultants and subcontractors from all over the world. So our needs have grown, and one of the many benefits of NetSuite is we will never outgrow it. It's our home, and we simply will never outgrow the software. It will grow with us. And it was a very transitioning from something like a Sage or a QuickBooks to proper ERP software it was a very difficult. It's simply not easy. It's time consuming, but some things like that you just have to do because the timing's right. And the more you put it off, the more difficult it will be. So we, in that regard, the timing was right for us to do it. the software has allowed us to grow. We've added our VSC Performance line of retail parts. We are now beginning to step into the world of EV, because electric cars and the electric technology is certainly it's impacting daily life with you seeing more electric cars on the road. And it's certainly, but motorsports has been, it's where the money is, it's where the sponsors are. So we're introducing yet another race series. We've purchased 2 cars. We're running in a global race series with electric rallycross. And as we grow, it's just that we'll, like I said, NetSuite allows us. It doesn't hinder our growth. It doesn't in any way. It allows our growth. And that has been the biggest overarching positive.
Yeah, that's hugely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that you said, Lucas, you wanted to talk a little bit about supply chain management.
Yeah.
Brian.
Sure. So again, like we said, like 14 times, Vermont SportsCar is very unique, right? They don't necessarily fall into a cookie cutter business, really. There's so many facets to the business. And as Brian mentioned, they're very dynamic. So they really need dynamic solutions. Things can change kind of at the drop of a hat. And I know their supply chain management is really critical. So one of the first things we did with just procurement in general was create some custom fields for some custom fields and custom save searches. So when a user creates a purchase order, they can, through their conversations with the vendor, they can put a delivery date on the order. And then we have a save search that, runs daily in the morning, and it'll send an email out to all the supply chain users to say, hey, here's your list of essentially purchase orders where for vendors you need to chase. And that was, I know that was huge. We saw a lot of a huge change in the in just delivery times, really. For item management, just simple min-max management that they didn't have before. They, again, very dynamic, lots of revisions on their inventory items. So they didn't want to use forecasting that goes way out into the future, because honestly, what I have found in this type of motorsports is you don't really know what's coming around the corner. So you don't want to invest too heavily into a forecast that's too far out in the future. So we built some actually simpler but more flexible tools for them. Same deal with min-max. The procurement people receive automatic email alerts. They also have dashboard notifications for all of that. Another really cool solution we actually built out was the procurement manager at the time came to me with an issue where they have, I've gone to an onsite there. They have an amazing parts department, and it's got this big open window with a counter. And the technicians, since all of their projects are internal, they come to a parts counter for parts they need for whatever project they're working on. And it just seemed like a big time suck. They had technicians were coming up with handwritten lists, grabbing the parts department employees away from their work. It was just ripe for miscommunication. So what we did is we actually created special roles for the technicians and a customization where they can edit sales orders, add the items onto sales orders that they want. And the parts department was automatically notified with an email. That email had a link directly to a sales order, so they could go to a sales order, and it also listed the items that were added in the email. They could say, okay, I need to fulfill these 4 items, click fulfill, print their item fulfillment picking ticket that was sorted by bin, go grab the fulfillment, and then put that into a traveler and put it on the counter. So there's almost no room for miscommunication, because all of your data lives in one place, and it's being accessed, by user roles that are governed by permissions. So yeah, it was an awesome solution. We worked through a couple iterations, and I've been told it was a real game changer for them as well. So.
That's terrific. Now, in terms of budgeting and planning, Brian, I know you mentioned that reporting has been very useful to you. Could you tell me a little bit about the, reporting that's worked best for you since you've had NetSuite live?
Yeah, some of the being able to being able to create reports by month, and being able to change, on the fly, things like date ranges, run income statements by class or by department. It's create the ease of which to create budgets based on GLs. Those are the things that stick out the most.
So what do you see next for your company? And how does NetSuite fit into that and Myers-Holum enable that for you, that future growth?
For the company, it is certainly the electric vehicle, rallycross, EV rallycross, and there's coming into, that's a whole nother, that's kind of linking on a whole nother race series to the company, and we could never have done that. And we were just, it's amazing that the timing was very serendipitous when we decided to implement NetSuite. I had the reasons, some of the shortfalls and some of the issues we were experiencing at the time, had no idea that it would be the last 2 years. The company has grown and changed so much that it would be, and it only gets more difficult if you put it off. Then I'll say, if you feel the time is right, it's more than likely it's probably right, because you don't want to be doing it in the middle of, as difficult as it can be, as it can be a little bit scary to think about implementation and moving all your data and all that, but it doesn't get easier as you try to grow. So the growth we've experienced in the last 2 years, NetSuite has certainly been instrumental in that. And like I'd mentioned, going forward, we're working with Myers-Holum to reevaluate how we're using the software. And it's honestly, as much time as someone wants to devote to learning and understanding how you can use it, the flexibility is amazing. So we'll continue to grow our tracking for the finances and in the departmental budgets, the granularity of the information we can see throughout each department and with each area of the company has been absolutely phenomenal. And it's kind of exciting to know that going forward, it's only going to get better. We're just going to be able to refine and move forward with much more confidence. And for me, the biggest thing is, as I mentioned before, at some point, like any business, the owner is going to want to make a move, or something is going to happen. And I know with absolute certainty that we're going to be ready for that. And that's a really key part of my job, is making sure that the company financially and what someone's going to need for information, we're going to be able to lay it out and say, any question we can answer it, snap of the finger. And it takes a while to get there, but we certainly are, we're getting very close.
That's so excellent. So we've been talking a lot about your ERP implementation, Brian, and then basically since then, the managed services. And I was thinking that maybe what we could do is have Mark kind of give us an overview of what managed services is once you have your ERP implemented.
Sure. Thanks, Rebecca. As Brian alluded to, you never, when you go live with your implementation, that's really step one in your NetSuite journey. I know that's simplifying greatly the number of steps and how complex it is, but it really is day one, because your business changes, it evolves. We see it a lot of times where an instance of NetSuite is neglected, for a better word or term, for many years. And the business that it was originally built for is no longer the business it's serving. And you have to continue. The beauty of NetSuite is it can be tailored. One of the downsides is you have to continue to tailor, right? But really, it's not a downside. It's the ability of that software to continue to grow and change with your system. So you have to continue to expect to work to invest in it. Like Brian called out, we've been working together for over 1.5 years now. Probably even longer if you go back into the sales cycle on their NetSuite environment. And what we do at our managed services practice is we're there with you for that journey. And what we'd like to do is offer what I'm going to call old school consulting. I grew up through my consulting career coming through Deloitte and RSM, and I've really brought that model to my practice here at Myers-Holum. And what we do is we give you named consultants. There's none of this call center type approach. I want our consultants to just like you can tell Lucas has, become ingrained in your business so that they can make pointed recommendations. We've done everything from helping people make rocket engines down to sports cars, and you can just the whole gamut that NetSuite can do. We've done it. And so we're able to support pretty much any industry out there. And the beauty of it is we get the whole power of Myers-Holum. We're the biggest partner in North America, partner of the year last year. So we have our dev groups, we have our integration group, we have our Suite Commerce Advanced group. We have all those teams that, if needed for any given project, can be pulled in into your account to help. And one of the biggest beauties is at the bottom actually. Most of our competitors, and I've actually structured our product model to be different than our competitors. Most of our competitors, require monthly minimums, guaranteed spends, things like that. Well, guess what? We're big enough that we don't need that. We can go in and say simply, when you need us, you pay for us. And there is no minimum spend. There is no obligation to spend. It's simply a time and materials, outsourced consultant that's available when you need them.
Thank you for that overview. I think that's really helpful to understand how managed services works. I think, we're getting to the end here, and I really wanted to not go over time too much, but I wanted to round this out with a question that's been asked here. And I think it's best for you, Brian, as you look back on your NetSuite journey, what advice would you give a business that's starting their ERP project?
I think do your due diligence. It's extremely important. So you're going to make sure you're going to find the system that's best for you. Look and really sit down with the users and the people who are in your particular business, and really figure out what it is that you're expecting from your ERP software. And so that as you go through, and we talked to probably 4 or 5 different companies before we settled on NetSuite, and I can say with confidence that for our particular business that we made the best choice. And the more I learn about it, and the more I see of other ERP software, it's nice when you can make a decision like that, and then in the future it only compounds the fact that you made the right choice. But be sure to do your due diligence. Don't take it lightly. Don't try to rush into something. And in not only the software, but also the support you're going to receive, because a lot of the value, I say this with confidence, that a lot of the value we have been able to extract from NetSuite comes from our relationship with Myers-Holum and the talent that they have there. Lucas and working with really getting to understand our business, and the specialist that he's pulled in as we've needed, whether it's a reporting specialist or some particular area, has been absolutely phenomenal. So those are what, looking back, those were the key, the very important things for us.
One thing I'd like to add to that, Rebecca, and Brian may not remember this, but is the attachment to a go live date. It's so much more important. I know it's hard to tell an executive, you don't go for a date, but you really have to be careful, because if you go live and the system is not ready, you didn't thoroughly test it and ensure that your folks can do every single bit of their job, guess what? Your business comes to a screeching halt. You need to make sure that it works and that you go live properly, and you've really done that extra effort in testing to make sure your project goes as smoothly as possible.
That's excellent advice from both of you. Brian, it's just so exciting to hear you so happy with Myers-Holum and so happy with NetSuite. And I think we're just going to have to bug you again for another webinar, because this has just been so great. And we didn't have nearly the time I'd like to delve into everything. So we'll just have to do 2.0. So I think, though, we're at time, and I don't want to keep anybody over what they committed to. So at any rate, thank you so much for your time, Brian and Mark and Lucas, and you have a great rest of your day. And thank you for joining us, everyone.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.